Optimus Primal. Here is the Maximal who was never supposed to carry the weight of the universe and ended up doing it 3 times across 3 different bodies. Optimus Primal was not Optimus Prime. He was named after him. He admired him. He inherited the name the way a kid names himself after a hero and then gets handed that hero's actual job without any of the preparation. At the start of Beast Wars, he was a mid-level exploration commander running what should have been a routine mission. His beast mode is a gorilla, which sounds underwhelming until you think about what a gorilla actually is. One of the most intelligent animals alive, socially complex, emotionally attuned, and when the situation requires it, capable of pure physical destruction that looks effortless because it is. Primal is all of that in robot form. He leads by listening. He doubts himself constantly. He argues with Dinobot, gets outsmarted by Megatron more often than he would like to admit, and spends entire arcs questioning whether his calls were right. That vulnerability is not a weakness the show tolerates. It is the engine of everything the show does with him. The moment every fan remembers is when he flies a detonator pod into an alien weapon to save the planet and dies in space. They bring him back through a sequence of events involving a transmetal upgrade and a new shell, and when he returns he is physically different and psychologically harder, someone who has paid a price and carries it. Then Beast Machines strips everything further. He wakes up on a dead Cybertron. His crew is nearly destroyed. Megatron has turned the planet into a mechanical nightmare, and Primal's response is to become something uncomfortably close to a religious zealot. The show does not flinch from this. It lets him be wrong in ways that cost people he loves. Optimal Optimus. This is what Optimus Primal becomes when the writers decided his gorilla mode was not enough and the plot needed him to be a walking weapons platform. After his death and resurrection through the transmetal process, Primal is upgraded into Optimal Optimus, a massive 4-mode transformer with a jet mode, a tank mode, a hovercraft mode, and a robot mode that towers over the original frame. He gains the Beast Machine's Optimus Prime spark briefly, which is the franchise's way of saying that the torch of the original Optimus Prime's legacy has been passed in the most literal possible sense. The size increase is staggering. The power increase is proportional. And what is interesting is that the show uses it to ask whether carrying that much power changes you, whether inheriting that much legacy is a gift or a burden. Primal Prime. Primal Prime shows up in the Universe Conflict, the crossover event that pulled characters from multiple continuities into a single war, and he is a deliberate fusion of iconography. He has Optimus Prime's color scheme and silhouette combined with Primal's organic beast mode heritage. He is not exactly either character. He is what you get when the spark of one idea inhabits the frame of another, and he carries that hybrid identity as a statement about legacy and continuation. He leads a mixed faction of Maximals drawn from across timelines, which means he has to build trust with people who do not share a history and does not have the luxury of backstory as a foundation. He earns command through action rather than reputation. He is one of the franchise's most visually striking Maximal leaders and one of the more underexplored, which is the specific tragedy of a character who exists primarily to serve a crossover narrative rather than a sustained story. Rattrap. Nobody on the Maximal crew talks more than Rattrap, and nobody on the Maximal crew earns more right to talk more than Rattrap. His beast mode is a rat, which he hates, and which the show slowly reveals is not a joke but a portrait. Rats are the ultimate survivors. Adaptive, resourceful, capable of thriving in environments that would end every other animal. They are impossible to fully exterminate. Rattrap is all of that in robot form. He is the team's scout and saboteur and designated pessimist. Every plan Optimus proposes, Rattrap will tell you 17 ways it goes wrong before it starts. He is usually right. His cowardice is theatrical, a defense mechanism layered over a character who has survived things that would break someone with a more heroic self-image. He runs toward danger constantly, complaining the entire time, doing the job anyway. Rattrap thinks Dinobot is a deluded Predacon who got lucky. They insult each other in specific and creative ways every episode, and then save each other's lives on a near-weekly basis without ever admitting that this might mean something. Cheetor. Cheetor is young, and the show never lets him pretend otherwise. His beast mode is a cheetah, all speed and almost no strategic patience, and the character underneath matches the animal. He charges. He makes calls that blow up in everyone's face. He gets captured. He makes the reckless move that smarter teammates spend the next episode cleaning up. He is exactly what a young soldier actually looks like instead of the polished Hollywood version, where the rookie is secretly the best at everything. His growth across Beast Wars is real but gradual in the way that actual growth is gradual. Not a single episode epiphany, but a slow accumulation of experience and consequence. Beast Machines gives him the most dramatic jump. He becomes the field leader when Primal is occupied or chasing his vision. He pushes back on Optimus. He makes the hard call and lives with it. The version of Cheetor at the end of Beast Machines is someone you would follow into a fight not because of what he was born with, but because of what he paid to get there. Rhinox. Every team has the person who actually keeps everything running, while everyone else is having emotional arcs and dramatic speeches. Rhinox is that person. His beast mode is a rhinoceros. dangerous, one of nature's most armored and devastating animals, and his robot mode carries twin chain guns that erase Predacons with an efficiency that makes the whole thing look routine. But Rhinox is not primarily a fighter. He is the smartest engineer on the team, the one who understands Cybertronian biology and alien technology and transwarp physics well enough to improvise answers to problems no one else could even define. The most definitive Rhinox moment is when he lets Megatron upload a virus directly into his body, lets it spread through his entire system, then reverses the polarity and fires the whole thing back into the Predacon base. He calculates it will probably not kill him. Barely. He does it anyway because it is the best tactical answer available. That is Rhinox in one moment. Precise, brilliant, cold under pressure, with just enough warmth underneath that when he smiles at Rattrap's terrible jokes you believe they are genuinely friends. Dinobot. There is no character in Transformers history who had a better single episode. We will get there. His beast mode is a velociraptor, and his origin is that he started with the Predacons, challenged Megatron for command, lost, and then walked over to the Maximals and offered his skills as an alternative to being a subordinate. His argument was simple. He was the most dangerous thing on the planet, and they wanted him on their side. Optimus took the deal. Dinobot's honor code is the entire character. He does not lie. He does not backstab. He will switch sides, but he will tell you before he does it. He will challenge you to a fair fight instead of an ambush. And he will die before he violates the code. Code of Hero. Dinobot discovers that Megatron has stolen future knowledge and is using it to destroy an early human settlement, rewriting history so the Predacons win everything. Dinobot is the only Maximal in position to stop it. He saves the primitive humans who will become the ancestors of all future life on Earth. He wins. Dinobot 2. The clone they build to replace him is a deliberate disappointment, and the show knows it. He is physically identical. He is psychologically hollowed. He lacks the original's conviction, his code, his capacity for the kind of moral clarity that made Code of Hero possible. He merges with Rampage's Spark eventually, and that merger makes him something nastier and more unpredictable, a creature pulled between the dignity of the original and the cruelty of the spark inside him. He dies without the grace of the original's ending. He was never going to have it. The clone exists to prove that a copy is not the thing itself, and that some things cannot be reproduced. Arazzor, built from damaged protoforms that should not have been compatible, assembled by Rhinox under fire in a field hospital situation, kept alive through engineering operating under conditions that would excuse a far more modest result. Her beast mode is a peregrine falcon, the fastest bird on the planet, and she is every bit as sharp and precise as that implies. Aerial reconnaissance, close air support, and an emotional steadiness that makes her one of the most grounding presences on the team despite being the newest. Her relationship with Tigatron is the franchise's most fully realized romantic arc from this era, remarkable for how little screen time it requires to land as genuine. They find each other, they choose each other, and then the Vok take them both, which is abrupt and alien and deliberate in all of those qualities. Her individual story ends at that taking. What comes after is something new. Tigatron. Tigatron is the Maximal who chose Earth over Cybertron, and means it. His beast mode is a white tiger, and it shaped him in ways that went beyond tactical function. He was deployed as a recon specialist, and spent so much time alone in the wild spaces of prehistoric Earth that he stopped identifying primarily as a soldier and started identifying primarily as a guardian. He talks to animals. He watches sunsets. He holds the natural world with a seriousness that his teammates sometimes find baffling. He is not naive about the war. He understands what is at stake. He chooses to act as though protecting the planet is the point rather than the incidental benefit of winning. The Vok take him along with Arazzor, and what they do with both of them is the franchise's most interesting statement about what love looks like when something ancient and vast tries to understand it. Tigerhawk, 2 sparks, 1 body. The Vok took Tigatron and Arazzor, merged everything they were into a single hybrid being, and sent the result back as an enforcer. Tigerhawk is enormous and carries the combined beast modes of both originals into a form that reads as alien even by Transformer standards. He arrives barely a person. He is the Vok's instrument first, and the people he used to be second. Slowly, fragments of both surfaces. The alien presence recedes. What remains is something new and genuine, a being who carries 2 people's worth of love for this planet, who wants to protect it not because he was programmed to, but because the love was real and survived the merger. He does not get enough time. Megatron kills him in a surprise attack before he can fully become what he was becoming. Silverbolt, a fuser, a Maximal whose beast mode fuses a wolf and an eagle into a single animal because his stasis pod entered the atmosphere wrong. It sounds like a design accident. The character is entirely intentional. Silverbolt is noble with the specific sincerity of someone who has read every legend about honor and decided they were instructions rather than stories. He recites oaths when he activates. He pursues chivalry without irony. He should be insufferable. He is somehow the opposite because the show gives him enough self-awareness to know the world is complicated and enough genuine conviction to act on his ideals anyway. His relationship with Black Arachnneia is Romeo and Juliet done honestly dishonestly, which means it is not clean. She manipulates him. She uses him. She lies to him. He sees through a fair amount of it and stays anyway because he believes the spark inside her is worth fighting for. He is not entirely wrong. Black Arachnneia. She was a Predacon. Built as one, launched as one, operated as one through most of the first season without apology. She manipulates. She betrays. She makes alliances based purely on personal advantage and feels exactly as much guilt about it as is useful to her in the moment. The show does not rush her toward redemption or pretend her choices were not choices. It lets her be what she is while slowly, across 2 seasons, the picture complicates. Her defection to the Maximals is not a moral conversion. It is a tactical decision that happens to align with where her feelings about Silverbolt have been pulling her. She is still not a hero by the end of Beast Wars. She is a Predacon who chose the better side for mixed reasons and is figuring out what that means. Nyx. Nyx is what happens when the Maximal War stops being about commanders and soldiers and starts being about the people who were never meant to survive it. She comes from the IDW Beast Wars comics, and her beast mode is a bat, but unlike Nightcream, she is not loud or reactive. She is quiet, observant, constantly processing. Nyx is not built for frontline combat. She knows it. The people around her know it, and the story refuses to pretend otherwise. What she is built for is awareness. She sees the emotional state of a room before anyone speaks. She understands when something is about to go wrong before the first move is made. That makes her valuable in a way that is harder to quantify than firepower, but just as essential. Depth charge. The Maximal who hates everyone including himself and shows up anyway. He arrives in Season 3 carrying a grudge so old and heavy it has its own gravitational pull. His beast mode is a manta ray, which gives him a predatory silhouette that matches his psychology. He is not warm. He is not team-oriented. He is barely communicative. What he is completely and permanently focused on destroying Rampage. The monster who slaughtered the entire colony depth charge was responsible for protecting. The Maximals captured Rampage instead of destroying him, and depth charge never forgave them for it. He tracked Rampage across the galaxy. He does not care about the Beast Wars. He cares about finishing what was started. Transmutate. Transmutate is the saddest character in Beast Wars, and it is not particularly close. She emerged from a damaged protoform that could not complete the normal transformation process, leaving her stuck as something in between, neither fully robot nor fully beast, with limited communication and a psychic resonance that connected her to both Rampage and Silverbolt. Rampage recognized in her another being who was broken and isolated by forces beyond their control. Silverbolt recognized in her something fragile that needed protecting. The Predacon and the Maximal both wanted her and fought over her, and she died because of it, destroying herself to stop their fight, because she understood that her existence was the cause of conflict she could not survive. Nightcream, the only Maximal in Beast Machines who was organic from the beginning. While the main crew had their robot forms corrupted and overwritten, and spent the season fighting to recover themselves, Nightcream had already fully converted to an organic state and was surviving in the ruins of a dead Cybertron by hiding and flying. His beast mode is a bat. He is young, scared, and angry about being scared in the way that young scared people get angry, loud and defensive, and constantly pushing at the people trying to help him. He clashes with the more experienced Maximals who have context he lacks, and he is not wrong that their certainties sometimes come at his expense. His bond with a Viacon beast called Savage, before the truth of what Savage is gets revealed, is the show's most interesting complication of the clean line it tries to draw between organic and mechanical. Botanica. She arrives from deep space having spent years alone on a planet of pure plant life, studying organic biology with the patience of someone who genuinely loves what she is studying. Her beast mode is a plant, specifically a complex root and vine form that extends and grips and manipulates the environment in ways that no combat-focused frame can match. She is uncomfortable with Cybertron's war in the specific way of someone who has lived outside it long enough that the violence reads as a kind of collective insanity she is being asked to join. Her relationship with Rattrap is the sweetest thread in Beast Machines, two lonely characters who understand each other's isolation well enough to build something quiet and real in the middle of everything falling apart. Savage. Savage is the wild creature, an organic wolf dragon beast that Nightcream befriended in Cybertron's dead zones. He is feral. He does not speak. He operates on pure instinct in an environment that has killed everything else, and his existence in the ruins of a mechanical planet is itself an argument about the organic life the Maximals are fighting to restore. Noble. Noble is the other state of the same being, the Cybertronian form that surfaces when the feral creature recedes. He presents as disoriented and harmless, someone who might be a survivor who needs help. The Maximals try to reach him, try to give him safety and context, because that is what they do. The truth of who Noble and Savage actually are is one of Beast Machines better reveals, an answer that generates genuine sadness because of what it implies about what the war did to someone who had already survived so much of it. Leo Convoy, the protagonist of Beast Wars 2nd, the Japanese continuation series, and one of the most visually commanding Maximal leaders the franchise has produced. His beast mode is a white lion, and the combination of that beast mode with his coloring and bearing gives him an authority that reads immediately even if you have never seen the show. Beast Wars 2nd is lighter in tone than the American series, aimed at a younger audience and more willing to lean into spectacle and humor, and Leo Convoy fits that register without becoming a parody of leadership. He is competent and principled and genuinely invested in the crew he commands. His rivalry with the Predacon commander Galvatron carries the mythic weight you expect from a Maximal versus Predacon conflict. Convat is the Maximal leader from Beast Wars 2 before Leo Convoy takes center stage, and his existence is one of the more direct bridges between the original Optimus Prime legacy and the Beast Wars reinterpretation of it. His beast mode is a bat, but his design and naming make the connection clear. He is an Optimus figure adapted into the Beast Wars framework, carrying the same sense of responsibility and command presence into a smaller, faster, more agile form. Convat leads with clarity. He understands the stakes immediately and operates with the kind of decisiveness that comes from knowing hesitation costs lives. Flash Leo Convoy. The upgrade form Leo Convoy achieves when the situation demands more than his standard configuration can provide. The Flash designation indicates enhanced speed and combat capacity, a Leo Convoy pushed past his normal limits by necessity rather than advancement. He is what the character becomes when the stakes outgrow the frame, and the visual shift emphasizes a sharpness and urgency that the base form carries more quietly. Burning Convoy. The super mode, where Flash Leo Convoy is about speed and precision, Burning Convoy is about scale, a configuration built for the kind of conflict where everything else has already been tried and this is what remains. The fire imagery is deliberate, a visual language about a leader burning through everything he has in service of a mission he cannot afford to fail. Moon operates within the Japanese Beast Wars continuity as part of the Maximal support structure, and while she is not a frontline combatant, her role is not secondary. She represents coordination, communication, and the systems that allow the Maximals to function as more than a collection of individuals. Wars are not won only by the people in the fight. They are sustained by the people making sure those fighters have direction, information, and continuity. Moon fills that space. She is calm, precise, and consistently aware of the broader situation, providing the kind of stability that prevents smaller conflicts from spiraling into larger failures. Characters like Moon rarely get the focus that fighters do, but without them, the fighters do not last. Artemis. Artemis is not a transformer, and including her depends on how strictly you define your Maximal list, but ignoring her leaves out a key part of how the Japanese Beast Wars continuity functions. She is a human ally working alongside the Maximals, providing support, coordination, and a perspective that exists outside the Cybertronian conflict. What makes Artemis relevant is not combat ability. It is context. She reacts to the war the way an outsider would, questioning decisions that the Maximals treat as normal. Big Convoy, the protagonist of Beast Wars Neo and a deliberate subversion of everything you expect from a Maximal commander after 2 seasons of Optimus Primal and a season of Leo Convoy. He does not want to lead. He does not want students. He is a legendary solo warrior who has spent his entire career operating alone because he is exceptionally good at it and has never needed to develop the skills that leadership requires. His beast mode is a woolly mammoth, one of the largest beast modes in the Maximal roster, and his big cannon operates on an energy scale that makes most other weapons look like toys. Apache, Big Convoy's most experienced student and the unofficial team leader during the frequent stretches when Big Convoy is being impossible. His beast mode is a mammoth, connecting him visually to his commander in a way that reads as lineage rather than coincidence. He is the responsible one, the one keeping the crew functional when the official leader has decided everyone needs to figure it out themselves, which Big Convoy decides with impressive regularity. He is not thrilled about this role. He is very good at it. His frustration with Big Convoy evolves into something that functions as mutual respect even if neither of them would describe it that way. Bump has a bison beast mode and is one of the younger recruits in Big Convoy's crew. He is straightforward in his enthusiasms and his fears, someone who has not yet developed the sophisticated coping mechanisms that older soldiers use to distance themselves from what they are feeling. He charges at problems. He does not always know what to do once he reaches them. His arc in Beast Wars Neo is about learning that courage and effectiveness are not the same thing and that the gap between them requires exactly the kind of patient development Big Convoy is bad at providing but eventually does anyway. Longrak, his beast mode is a giraffe. The neck becomes a whipping, extending combat tool in robot mode that covers range most close fighters cannot match, turning what sounds like a joke beast mode into a genuinely functional tactical asset. He is careful, organized, and perpetually aware that the team will fall apart without someone doing the work Big Convoy refuses to do. His relationship with his commander is the most friction-filled on the crew because Longrak has the most standing to push back and the most at stake when things go wrong. He pushes back anyway. Big Convoy mostly respects him for it, in the way that Big Convoy respects anything, which is quietly and without mentioning it. Breaker's beast mode is a penguin, and the show is completely aware of how that sounds and uses that awareness to build a character whose entire arc is about refusing to be dismissed. He compensates for the aesthetic disadvantage by being meticulous and hardworking in ways the physically gifted members of the crew do not have to be. He studies twice as hard. He prepares more thoroughly. He is the student who earns his place through application rather than natural talent, and the show treats that as genuinely admirable rather than as a punchline. Stampy. Stampy has a rabbit beast mode and is the youngest, most energetic, and most chaotic member of the Neo recruits. His movement in robot mode is built around the rabbit's natural unpredictability, short explosive speed bursts and sudden direction changes that make him genuinely difficult to track in a fight. He does not always know what he is going to do next. Neither does the enemy. His enthusiasm and his recklessness create roughly half the problems the team has to solve and roughly a quarter of the solutions, and the balance tips toward asset as the series progresses. Mach Kick. Mach Kick's beast mode is a horse, making him the team's speed specialist in a different register than Stampy's chaotic bursts. He is built for sustained velocity, a character whose tactical value is in coverage and rapid repositioning rather than any single devastating strike. The horse as a beast mode carries a specific grace that Mach Kick's robot mode tries to honor, a fighter who is fast and fluid rather than heavy and blunt. Colada. Colada's beast mode is a cobra, and the choice to name a cobra Maximal Colada is either the funniest or the most confident naming decision in the franchise depending on your perspective. He is patient. He watches. He waits. The cobra as a predator is defined by the ability to appear still while calculating a strike, and Colada applies that to every tactical situation he enters. His coloring and his design make him visually striking in a roster full of large and aggressive-looking characters. Survive. Survive appears in the Japanese exclusive releases and carries a name that functions as his entire character description. He endures. Whatever the situation demands in terms of sustained punishment and continued function, that is what Survive provides. His beast mode grounds him in the kind of creature that outlasts everything around it through sheer biological tenacity rather than dominant predatory skill. He is the character who is still standing when the others need to take stock of who made it through. Drillnuts. The name is doing a lot of work here, and the character leans into it. Drillnuts is an aggressive, relentless attacker whose beast mode and fighting style are built around the concept of drilling into any defensive position the enemy tries to maintain until there is nothing left of it. He is exactly as subtle as the name implies, which is to say he is not subtle at all, and the show uses that lack of subtlety as both his strength and the source of most of the complications he causes for the team. Spitter. Spitter has a frog beast mode in the American toy and comic line, and his specific contribution to the Maximal roster is ranged biological attack, which in practical terms means he fires corrosive projectiles at things he wants to stop existing. He is not a character given extensive development in most of his appearances, but he represents the franchise's recurring interest in finding combat applications for animal traits that are not immediately obvious weapons. A frog is not naturally a threat. Spitter's design team disagreed. Tasmanian Kid, Beast War's second youngest and most chaotic team member, with a Tasmanian Devil beast mode that the show uses to justify a fighting style built around unpredictable spinning aggression. Tasmanian Devils are notorious for the intensity of their attacks relative to their size, and Tasmanian Kid carries that energy into every confrontation he enters. He is comic relief that has enough genuine heart underneath to keep from being only a joke. He would absolutely start a fight in a restaurant and somehow end up buying everyone dinner. Wolfong. Wolfang's beast mode is a wolf, making him one of several wolf-based Maximals across the various Beast Wars lines and establishing him clearly within the franchise's recurring use of pack animal iconography for characters whose strength comes partly from operating as part of a coordinated group. He is a team fighter, someone whose individual capacity is good and whose value multiplies when the people around him know what they are doing. His design is one of the cleaner wolf modes in the toy line. Polar Claw. Polar Claw has a polar bear beast mode, giving him an immediate visual dominance that most other Maximals cannot match on sheer size and imposing presence alone. Polar bears are the largest land predators on Earth, and Polar Claw's robot mode translates that scale into a fighter who wins engagements through raw physical superiority rather than tactical sophistication. He is the answer to the question of what happens when you need something extremely large to solve an extremely large problem. K9. K9 has a dog beast mode, and the choice to give a Maximal a domestic dog as a beast mode is either deeply humanizing or deeply funny depending on what kind of dog in the show knows it. K9 represents the franchise's acknowledgement that loyalty and reliability are combat assets as real as raw power, that a character built around consistent trustworthy performance in a support role contributes to victories in ways that are hard to quantify until they are absent. Cybershark. Cybershark's beast mode is a shark, and the shark as a beast mode carries a specific set of implications that the franchise uses deliberately across multiple characters. The shark is pure predatory efficiency, millions of years of evolutionary refinement toward a single purpose, and Cybershark in robot mode carries that lean, efficient lethality rather than the bulk and aggression of the larger land-based Maximals. He is the underwater specialist whose threat in open water most opponents are not equipped to address. Terriator. Terriator is a fuser, combining alligator and sea turtle into a single beast mode that creates a semi-aquatic predator with the defensive plating of the turtle and the aggressive jaw power of the gator. Terriator. Fusers were the franchise's experiment in seeing what happened when the normal rules of beast mode assignment broke down, and Terriator is one of the more functionally interesting results because the combination actually creates a coherent tactical profile rather than just a visual novelty. Airhammer, another fuser, combining a hammerhead shark and an eagle into a flying aquatic predator that should not work and absolutely does. The hammerhead sensory capability combined with an eagle's aerial mobility creates a character whose primary advantage is detection and targeting before an opponent knows they have been acquired. He is the scout that finds you before you find him, in an element you are not expecting him to operate in. Torca. Torca is a fuser with an orca and elephant beast mode combination, which is the most ambitious fuser concept in terms of raw physical scale, and the combination of an apex aquatic predator with the largest land animal. The result is something that does not fit cleanly into any single tactical category. A Maximal who is enormous and powerful in configurations that his opponents cannot predict because no natural animal prepared them to expect this combination. Injector. Injector is a fuser whose beast mode combines a hornet and a lionfish, creating something that is venomous, aggressive, and defensively capable in ways that make it one of the more genuinely dangerous-looking fuser designs. The lionfish's poisonous spines plus the hornet's stinging attack plus lionfish's coloration as a warning signal creates a beast mode that is communicating threat on multiple levels simultaneously. Sky Shadow. Sky Shadow operates in the shadows of the Maximal organization in the extended fiction, a character whose role involves intelligence and infiltration rather than direct combat. His beast mode gives him aerial capability combined with a low observability profile, the kind of Maximal you need when you require information that direct force cannot obtain. The extended fiction gives him moral complexity, a character whose methods make even other Maximals uncomfortable. Quickstrike. Quickstrike is a fuser with a Cobra and Scorpion beast mode, giving him both venomous bite and venomous sting in a single package that is redundantly dangerous in the most on-the-nose way possible. He started as a Predacon in Beast Wars canon before being reframed in certain continuities as Maximal aligned, and the transition is uncomfortable in both directions because Quickstrike is not naturally suited to the moral framework either faction formally espouses. Noctoro. Noctoro is a fuser combining a bull and a bat, which creates a heavy ground fighter with aerial capacity in beast mode that produces a genuinely surprising tactical profile. The bull's mass and aggressive charge combined with the bat's echolocation and nighttime capability makes Noctoro a character who is most dangerous in conditions that favor neither pure brute force nor standard aerial combat. He occupies a niche the other fusers do not cover, and fills it with a design that commits fully to the visual strangeness of the combination. Banter. Banter combines a baboon and a tiger into a beast mode that produces a character who is aggressive, unpredictable, and physically powerful in the way that both source animals are in different registers. The baboon's social aggression and the tiger's solitary predatory efficiency create something that fights with primate intensity and feline capability, and the combination is as unsettling as it sounds. Sonar. Sonar's beast mode is a bat, giving her the echolocation and darkness navigation that the name implies, and placing her in the aerial specialist category with an emphasis on detection and precision rather than raw speed or power. She is one of the female Maximals from the extended toy line who received enough fictional development to have a distinct personality, a careful and observant character whose primary contribution is knowing where the threat is before it knows where she is. RC. The Maximal-aligned RC in the extended fiction is a version of a character whose G1 counterpart was one of the most significant female Autobots, and that heritage operates as both asset and pressure. She carries the name's weight into a context where the Maximal organization's values and the Autobot values she was built around are in productive tension rather than simple continuity. Her alignment is a choice rather than an inheritance, which makes it mean more. Prowl. The Maximal Uprising version of Prowl is another repurposing of a name that carries enormous weight in Transformer history, a character who exists in the gap between what the name implies and what the specific individual actually is. He is a Maximal operating in a system that the Uprising fiction treats as morally compromised, and his navigation of that system tests whether the values the name implies can survive the context they find themselves in. Razer Beast. Razer Beast is one of the central characters of the IDW Beast Wars comics, a Maximal deep cover operative who ended up stranded in prehistoric Earth alongside a group of Predacons after a mission went wrong. His beast mode is a boar, and the boar is a deliberately unglamorous choice for a protagonist, a tough, aggressive, persistent animal that does not have the aesthetic appeal of a lion or the cool factor of a velociraptor, but will fight through conditions that stop everything else. Tap Out. Tap Out is a Maximal spy operating in the IDW continuity, and unlike the louder personalities on the roster, his entire function depends on nobody noticing him unless he wants them to. His beast mode is a red panda, which sounds harmless until you understand what that choice is doing. Red pandas are small, quiet, and extremely good at disappearing into their environment, and Tap Out applies that same principle to intelligence work. Glyph. Glyph operates alongside Tap Out in the IDW Beast Wars continuity, and where Tap Out is subtle movement, Glyph is precise thought. She is a scientist, an analyst, someone who approaches every situation as a problem to be understood before it is acted upon. Her beast beast mode is not what defines her. Her mind is. She processes data, identifies patterns, and finds solutions in environments where most Maximals would default to force. Bone Crusher. The Maximal Bone Crusher carries a name with Decepticon connotations into a Maximal context that complicates those connotations on purpose. His beast mode and his role in the extended fiction establish him as a heavy combat specialist whose primary value is force application in situations that require something bigger than what is usually available. Sea Clamp. Sea Clamp's beast mode is a lobster, another aquatic specialist with a natural armor profile and a grip that does not let go once it closes. Lobsters are patient hunters who use their environment and their structural durability as primary assets. Deluge. Deluge operates in the aquatic environments that most Maximal combat specialists cannot effectively access, filling a strategic gap that the faction's mostly land and air-oriented roster leaves open. His beast mode and his capabilities are oriented around water-based operations. Manticore. Manticore has a mantis beast mode, and the praying mantis is one of nature's most effective ambush predators relative to its size. A creature that combines camouflage, patience, and explosive strike speed into a package that regularly catches things larger than itself entirely off guard. Manticore brings that ambush specialist profile into a Maximal context, a character whose value is in the first 3 seconds of any engagement. Power Hug. The name is doing something the rest of the Beast Wars roster does not attempt. A Maximal whose designation is almost aggressively non-threatening, and whose beast mode and fighting style turn that apparent softness into the joke being on the opponent. He is the character who surprises people, which in a faction where most members announce their danger level on approach, is its own kind of tactical advantage. Ramulus. Ramulus's beast mode is a ram, and the ram as an animal is built around one primary concept delivered with total commitment. Forward. He is a battering force, a character whose tactical value is in sustained pressure and the ability to drive through resistance that stops more technically sophisticated approaches. He is not the fastest or the most versatile. He is the one you send when the door needs to come down and everything else has already been tried. Packrat. Packrat's beast mode is, predictably, a rat, but where Rattrap uses the rat survivor qualities as the core of a complex character portrait, Packrat is the franchise leaning into a different aspect of rat mythology. Packrats specifically collect. They accumulate. They are drawn to things that other animals ignore. Tripredicus Agent. The Tripredicus Council's covert operative, a Maximal disguised infiltrator whose presence in Beast Wars canon raises the uncomfortable question of how much of the conflict was being managed from behind the scenes by parties with interests in specific outcomes. The agent moves through both factions, trusted by neither fully, loyal to something that is not quite either side. Ram Horn. Ram Horn is another Tripredicus Council member whose extended fiction appearances sometimes place him in contexts where the clean faction line has dissolved. He carries the Council's bureaucratic power and the specific threat of institutional authority, a Predacon whose danger is not primarily physical but structural. Bighorn. Bighorn's beast mode is a bighorn sheep, and his primary tactical contribution is exactly what you would expect from an animal named for the thing it uses to end arguments. He generates forward momentum and applies it to whatever is in his way. He is not a complicated character. He does not need to be. He is the answer to the question of what happens when the plan works and someone needs to go through a wall, and he answers that question with enthusiasm every time it is asked. Antagony. Antagony is one of the more interesting conceptual entries in the Beast Wars extended fiction because her name describes a role rather than an attribute. She is not named for what she is. She is named for what she does, which is generate opposition, create friction, push situations into the confrontations that reveal what everyone involved is actually made of. She is a disruptive presence operating within the Maximal structure in ways that the faction finds useful even when they find her personally difficult, which is a kind of tactical asset the roster does not have in abundance. Fractal. Fractal is a Predacon scientist who appears in the Beast Wars fiction with enough genuine intellectual complexity that several story threads align him more closely with Maximal values than with the Predacon command structure he nominally serves. He is interested in knowledge and discovery in ways that Predacon military hierarchy has no patience for, and the extended fiction explores what happens to a character whose instincts are scientific in a context that only values results as weapons. If you want to watch similar content in the future, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next video.